In a recent video, I shared my high-level workflow for narrowband images. And in that workflow, I showed that I was sourcing my stars from the luminance image. And this raised a few questions. Why was I using luminance-based stars? I was losing out on color, right? Well, that's true. This particular workflow emphasizes a luminance processing path versus a color processing path, and it emphasizes a starless workflow. And with a starless workflow, you really do have to decide where you're going to get your stars from that you're going to use to add back in at the late stages of your process. In the example I showed, I was pulling those images from the luminance image. Well, why would I do that? Well, we have to keep in mind that these are narrowband images. And as such, they're false color images. None of the colors you really see are tied to reality. They're designed to be able to show technical and scientific detail in the differences between different molecular clouds, and so there's no reason why the colors have any relationship to reality. Therefore, it's not unusual to see stars in a narrowband image take on some funky colors. And so when you're doing a process like this, you're going to have to make a decision of where you're going to source your stars. And clearly, if you source your stars from the luminance image, you'll end up with stars that don't have any funky colors. Any processing you do on the stars is likely to be focusing on the reduction of the size of the stars before you add things back in. But there's other ways you could do it using the same basic workflow. For example, we could decide to do a very similar workflow, but we're going to source our stars from the SHO color image. Now, in this particular path, we have our SHO image, we go starless with it, and we also extract the stars from it. And the luminance path has no role to play in contributing towards the stars. We're basically just processing this for sharpness and detail. But here we can now take the SHO-based stars and we can process those, and we can process those for star reduction. But we're probably going to have to address the color, because the colors can be a little bit funky, so you have to decide what you want to do to those stars to make them look better. Sometimes you can mute the color, sometimes you can adjust the curves. Sometimes this can be quite pleasing to have just a little bit of color in your narrowband image. It's sort of image dependent, and often I'll try both looking at SHO-based stars and luminance-based stars and see which one I think looks better when I compose the final image. There's a third option. In some ways it's the best option, and that is to actually work with RGB stars that look very, very natural. In this case, what you end up doing is you're going to collect your narrowband subs as you always have, but you're also going to capture a series of subs through your RGB filters. These can be short exposures just to capture the stars. You're not really going after the nebula. And if you have the luxury of capturing this data, you now can take your normal processing for your narrowband. We're going to take it starless, and we're going to do all the things that we wanted to do with it from our previous path. But now we have another processing path, which is an RGB processing path. We'll combine our colors to create a color image in the linear realm, and we'll do a color calibration, probably PCC or SPCC to try to get very accurate colors. We'll do a stretch, go into the non-linear domain, and it's at this point that we'll extract our RGB stars. The processing here is going to emphasize creating nice size, very natural looking color stars that then can be folded in on top of the narrowband nebulosity in our starless image. And I think this creates probably the most satisfying output, in that the stars look very natural, but we have the wonderful detail that you can get from narrowband imaging. Now, for me, I don't often do this because in order to do that, I have to have enough time during integration to capture RGB subs. And with my weather and limited access to the sky because of tree lines, I never have that much free time. But occasionally I have done that, and I've been really happy with the response. So here you have a basic workflow, and it supports 3 ways to source your stars. And you have to decide what works best for you and the image and what you like.